You've been praying. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not every single day, but you've been showing up. You close your eyes, you speak the words, you wait, and then nothing. Just silence. Just the hum of the ceiling fan and the weight of everything you're carrying pressing down harder than it did before you started. You wonder if you're doing it wrong. You wonder if God is even listening. And somewhere beneath all that wondering is a question you're almost afraid to ask out loud. What if prayer just doesn't work for me? You've tried the morning routine. You've tried the journal. You've tried the app with the gentle chime at 7 a.m. You've watched the videos, read the books, followed the plans of 30 days to a deeper prayer life, 90 days to spiritual breakthrough, and still, you close the last page feeling exactly the same as when you opened the first one. Not transformed, not connected, just tired. What if the problem isn't your discipline? What if the problem isn't your words, your timing, your method, or even your faith? What if the reason prayer feels like a performance is because somewhere along the way, someone taught you where to pray and left out the most important thing Jesus ever said about why? By the end of this video, you're going to see Matthew 6:6 in a way you've probably never been shown. Not as a rule about finding a quiet room, not as a checklist item, but as a doorway, and on the other side of it is the kind of prayer that actually changes something, not just your circumstances. You think about the last time you made a phone call in a terrible signal zone. You were saying words. The other person may have even been saying words back, but nothing was getting through clearly. You'd repeat yourself. You'd ask, "Can you hear me?" You'd strain to make out what was being said through the static and the cutting in and out. And eventually, frustrated, you'd either hang up or drive somewhere with better signal. The problem was never your voice. The problem was never the other person's ears. The problem was the connection. That's what most people's prayer life feels like. And that's exactly what Jesus was addressing. In Matthew 6, Jesus is speaking to a crowd that knows how to pray. These aren't pagans. These aren't people who've never opened a scripture. These are religious people, devoted, disciplined, serious about God. And yet Jesus looks at them and essentially says, "You're missing it entirely." He's not condemning their effort. He's diagnosing their location. He says, in verse 6, "But when you pray, go into your room, close the door and pray to your Father, who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." The word translated room here to meon in Greek doesn't just mean a physical closet. It carries the idea of an inner chamber, a private storehouse, the most personal, hidden space a person possesses. Jesus isn't giving you an interior decorating tip. He's pointing you somewhere inside. Hear this clearly. There are two kinds of people sitting in every church, listening to every sermon, filling every prayer group. Call them the performer and the dweller. The performer knows all the right words. He prays publicly with eloquence. His vocabulary is theological. His cadence is reverent. His timing is impeccable. He checks the box. He logs the minutes. He posts the verse. And when he closes his eyes alone at night, there is nothing there. Just the echo of his own voice in an empty room. Because the performer has learned to pray at God and performing for an audience, even a divine one, is exhausting work that produces nothing but a growing ache. The dweller is different. She doesn't always have the right words. Sometimes she sits in silence for 10 minutes before a single syllable forms. Sometimes what comes out sounds less like a prayer and more like a confession, or a cry, or just a name Father as said quietly into the dark. But something happens in that place. Something shifts. Not always immediately, not always dramatically, but there is a quality of presence in her ordinary days that the performer can't manufacture, no matter how many minutes he logs. Because the dweller has found the secret place and she keeps going back. The difference between them isn't talent. It isn't theological knowledge. It isn't even consistency in the conventional sense. The difference is location. One is performing in the open. One is dwelling in secret. And Jesus said clearly which one the Father meets. So how do you get there? How do you stop performing and start dwelling? It's not a personality shift. It's not a spiritual gift some people have and others don't. It's a series of small, deliberate moves away from the noise toward the presence. Here are 4 shifts that change everything. Shift 1, the location shift. The flip You've been treating prayer like a task to complete. Start treating it like a place to return to. Jesus didn't say if you pray, go to the secret place. He said when you pray. The assumption is that you're already going. The question is whether you're actually arriving. The secret place isn't a room in your house, though a consistent physical space genuinely helps anchor the practice. It's a posture. It's the moment you stop performing for an invisible audience and simply show up as you are. Tired, confused, half faithful, completely real. The practice is this: before you say a single word in prayer today, sit for 60 seconds in silence and just acknowledge that you are in the presence of someone who already knows everything you're about to say and loves you anyway. Not a warm-up, not a throat-clearing exercise. The actual prayer begins there, in that acknowledgement. Everything else is response. Shift 2, the language shift. The flip: you've been trying to sound like someone who has it together. Start praying like someone who doesn't. The Psalms of the original prayer book of Scripture are not polished. They are desperate, confused, sometimes angry, occasionally accusatory. David writes, "How long, Lord, will you forget me forever?" That's not a man who has mastered spiritual decorum. That's a man who has found the secret place and discovered that honesty is the only currency that spends there. The practice is this: for the next 7 days, begin every prayer with one true sentence about how you actually feel. Not how you think you should feel. Not the spiritual version of yourself. One true sentence. I'm exhausted, and I don't know if I believe this is working. Hand that to God first. Watch what He does with it. Shift 3, the expectation shift. The flip: you've been waiting for a feeling. Start watching for a fruit. One of the reasons prayer feels empty is that we've been trained to measure it by emotional temperature. Did I feel something? Was I moved? Did it feel real? But Jesus didn't promise a feeling. He promised a reward, and the Greek word used, apodidomi, means to give back what is owed. A settled transaction, not a mood. The fruit of the secret place is rarely immediate warmth. It's a quietness that shows up in your Tuesday afternoon. A response that comes out of you in a hard conversation that surprises even you. A patience you didn't manufacture. The practice is this: start keeping a one-line note, not a journal. Just a line of moments in your week where something in you responded differently than you would have 6 months ago. That's the reward. That's what the secret place produces in the hidden places of your ordinary life. Shift 4, the return shift. The flip: you've been treating a missed day like a failure. Start treating it like a reason to come back. The secret place is not a streak. It is not a record. It is a relationship, and in every real relationship, what matters most is not perfection of attendance but consistency of return. The practice is simply this: come back. You missed yesterday, come back today. You spent the last 10 minutes distracted, come back to the present moment. Right now, mid-prayer. The Father who sees in secret sees the return just as clearly as He sees the arrival. It counts. Every time. This is what life looks like when it works. You wake up, and there's still noise. There will always be noise. But underneath it something is steady. You move through your day not performing for God. Not straining to feel close. But simply aware that you are known. Carried. Met. Not because you finally got your prayer life right, but because you found the door, kept walking through it, and discovered that He was always on the other side. It's not about the words. It's about the place. It's not about the method. It's about the meeting. If this opens something in you today, type in the comments, "Father, I'm coming back." Share this with someone whose prayer life has gone quiet. They need to hear this. And if this is the kind of teaching that feeds you, subscribe to Bible Yourself. We'll keep going deeper together.